Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about 9.2 graphing quadratics by calculating the roots in the vertex. Now, 9.1, I gave you the roots and gave you the vertex in factored form. Okay, but now I'm going to give you an equation. So I'm going to give you an equation in standard form, and we're going to use the calculator to graph. So you're going to get, let's just say, an equation like y equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, so you're going to get an equation like that, and we're going to use the calculator to determine what does that look like. Now, we know that since it has the degree of 2, right? Since it has a degree of 2, it is considered a quadratic, and when we graph the equation, it's going to look like a parabola. So if I draw my x and y coordinate plane, I know that my parabola is going to look something like, let's just say something like that. Okay, where my u, or my parabola, is going to cross the x-axis at a point there and at a point there. Okay, now let's talk about this parabola real quick. Now this parabola, we said, are going to have roots. Okay, now another name for those roots are zeros. Okay, so I have that there and there. Okay, so it's where your parabola crosses the x-axis. Now, also, we are going to be talking about today the vertex on our graphs are either going to be a minimum or maximum point, a min-max, min or max, excuse me. Okay, so what does that mean? My vertex, if I go ahead and plot my vertex, is where my u kind of turns over, and it's right there. Okay, right in the middle of our graph. Now, what do we know about that point? Okay, what do we know about that point? Right now, it's either going to be a minimum point or maximum point. Now, if you follow your u, you only go down to that point and then you swoop back up. So in this case, we would have a min. A maximum graph would be actually a parabola that's flipped upside down that looks something like that. X and y. And you can kind of see that my parabola turns over at that point right there, and that would be considered a maximum point. So we know that that is our vertex, and it's either going to be a minimum or maximum point. Now that's going to be important for today. The last thing I want to talk about is the line of symmetry. Okay, we talked a little bit about line of symmetry, but what we really want to emphasize is that something that is symmetrical is like a mirror image on both sides. So if I told you that a parabola was symmetrical, all that means is that if I drew a line right down the middle through the vertex, a vertical line, that both sides are going to be equal, which means that according to our vertex, each root, okay, is the equal distance from that line of symmetry. Okay, so it's an equal distance from that line of symmetry. So I'm just going to draw an arrow right there, and I'm going to say that is my line of symmetry. Okay, good. Now, that is kind of what we're going to be basing it off of. Now, now, like I said, we need these 3 points. 1, 2, 3. So we need those 3 points to graph. Once we have those 3 points, we're going to connect it with a u that's going upward or a u that's going downward. Now we're going to, last class, I gave you these roots. Okay, our last lesson, I gave you these roots. Now, I'm going to graph it using the calculator. Okay, so you have a handout of these different directions. Okay, they're up top. and you could follow along as well, or you could follow along on the piece of paper that I gave you. So, like I said, when I want to graph these, I want I'm going to want 3 points. 2 of those points are going to be the roots. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to have a root and a root. Okay. There's going to be 2 points. Then I'm going to have my vertex. Now, these are going to be, the vertex is going to be an ordered pair, as well as each root is going to be an ordered pair. Okay, so now, I have 2 different sets of directions. One is to figure out the roots, which is my left set of directions. My right, which I will highlight in green. Okay, that is going to be for my vertex. Okay, good. So let's try a couple of examples. Now, you will go through a couple of steps, but once you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, it'll become easier. Okay, so first thing when I open up my calculator, I just want to make sure that I'll have a clear screen. Okay, clear screen. Now, if you look at my first set of directions, okay, my first direction is to press the Y equals button. So if I press the Y equals button, it's this upper left button right there. I'm going to have a screen that looks like that. Now it says, and type in your equation. So my equation is right here. Now, it already says Y equals, okay? So all I want to do, this one just means one equation. So I just have one equation that I'm going to graph. So I'm just going to put it next to Y equals 1. Now I want to graph x squared plus 6x plus 8. Now I want you to type it in exactly as shown. Now my x is right here, xt omega, right there. X squared, okay. Squared button right there. Good. Plus 6x plus 8. Okay, so that equation matches that equation. Good. Now my next step tells me to press graph. So I'm going to go ahead and press graph. Upper right hand corner. Now this is what my graph is going to look like. Now most of the time, if you're taking the standardized test and you just need to see a multiple choice graph where you just want to get a visual of the graph, sometimes you might be able to sketch that, but right now I want those 3 points. So looking at this graph, one of the roots crosses there, my other root crosses there, and my vertex is right there. But I want to see what those 3 points are. So now, I want to figure out my roots first. So I want to see where my parabola crosses the x-axis. So it's this point right here. Let's see if I get right on it. Right there and right there. Okay. So how am I going to do that? It tells me to press second. So the second button is the blue button. Now, it's going to be highlighted for there. I want to hit trace. Now, trace is 2 in from the right-hand side, and I really want that calc button. That's why I hit the second, because it's blue. So I'm going to hit trace right there. I'm going to have a menu. Now, what am I really looking for? Okay, what I'm really looking for are the zeros, or the roots. Okay, I did those 2 steps. So now my next step says press 2, or I could scroll down to hit 0. So I'm going to hit the number 2. Okay, good. Now, it says choose 1, 0 first. So I always go from left to right. So I'm going to choose this 0 here. Now I have a blinking X up on the upper right of my graph. Now, the left and right arrows will move that. So if I hit it right, it's going to move it right. If I hit it left, then I'm going to move it left. So now, it says I want to choose one of my zeros, which I'm choosing the left. Now, it's asking me left bound of that 0. So all that means is that I need to get the cursor to the left side of that root. So I need to keep hitting the X all the way until it's left of that root, which it is. Then it tells me to hit enter. Okay, so I completed those 2 steps. Okay, now my calculators tell me write down. So same thing, I want to move my cursor till it's right down. Now, I mean, you could go maybe 2 or 3 times past it, but right now it's right bound of that 0. So then I'm going to hit enter. Okay, hit enter. And it's telling me to guess. I don't care. It says I need to hit enter twice. All right, I need to read the directions. So that's my second time. And it's going to give me x equals -4, y equals 0. So as an ordered pair, what is that? It's -4, comma, 0. So that's what I'm going to write. So it's -4, comma, 0. Okay? So that's one root. Okay? Good. Okay, completed those two steps. Now, my last step says write down the x and y value, which I already did, as an ordered pair and round. Right now, these both are integers, and I'm fine with that. But if it was a decimal, you just would want to round to the nearest tenth. Now, my last step tells me to choose the other 0 and then repeat the above steps. So, really, when I repeat the above steps, I would just want to go back to, let's go back to the second step, because I already have my equation plugged in. So if I go back to graph, it's just going to give me my graph again, right? So now I need to hit second, okay, second, then trace. So second, then trace, which is for calc. Good, same thing, I want zeros. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in either 2 or hit zeros. I'm just going to press 2. Okay, now same thing. It's going to ask me left bound. Now don't do the same 0 that you just did. Do the right 0 or the right root. So right now I'm talking about this root right here. So it's asking me if am I left bound of that root. I believe so. So it's asking me to hit enter. Okay. Good. Now it's telling me right bound. Okay, right bound of those roots. Of that root, excuse me. Okay. Hit it one more time. Now I'm right bound of that root. Okay. Good. Let me check off these steps. Okay, I'm right down now. Good. Now it just tells me to hit enter twice. Okay. So I hit enter 1, 2. It's going to give me the ordered pair of what? -2, comma 0. -2, comma 0. Okay. Awesome. So now I have my 2 roots. Okay. So I could go ahead and plot those 2 points. So if I wanted to plot those 2 points right now, I would say -4, comma 0 is right 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. Good. And -2, comma 0 is 1, 2. So it's something that looks like that. Good. So those are my 2 roots. Okay. Now I want to do the same thing, but for my vertex. So I have those 2 points right there. I need my third point for my vertex. So let's go to my right set of directions. This is calculate for the vertex, or sorry, calculating the vertex of a quadratic. Okay, first thing it says is to press the y equals button. I want to press the y equals button. Now, it says enter the equation, but the equation is already in there from last example using the zeros. Now you can calculate the vertex first, and then the zeros, or vice versa, like we did. Okay, second step tells me to hit graph. I want to hit graph. Okay, it's the same problem. All right. Now I want to hit second. Trace. Which is right there. So we're back at the same menu. So those steps should be repetitive, and you should get used to doing that. Now, I don't want zeros, but I want the vertex. Now, like I said before, I either am talking about a minimum or a maximum. Now, looking at our graph, if I go back to the graph, is this a minimum or a maximum point? It looks like a minimum, right? I can't go anything below that point of the vertex. Good. So I am going to choose, so if I go back to the menu, I'm going to choose number 3, which is a minimum. Okay, good. Okay, now it's telling me I only have one vertex, so all I have to go is left bound to that vertex. Right there is the vertex. Hit a couple times to the left, so yes, I am left bound. Hit enter. Good. Now it's asking me right bound. Okay. So a couple more times. Good. I'm right bound of that vertex right there. Hit enter. So I completed that step, and that step. What's my next step? Press enter twice. 1 and 2. It's going to give me the minimum value is -3, comma -1. So it's -3, comma -1. Okay. Awesome. So right now I am going to plot that. So -3, 1, 2, 3, -1 is right there. Now that you have those 3 points, then you could kind of trace what we have on the screen to our right. So it's going to look something like, oops, go back, try that again. Okay, so now my U, okay, as you get better, your U's will become better. Okay, so my U is going to look something like that, but the most important part is that it goes through all 3 of those points. Okay, good. Now I want you to try number 2 on your own, get it checked by me, and then numbers, let's get a color here. Okay, number 3 and number 4 will be money problems. All right, good luck.